Hello, this is Amber again, and I am going to show you how I decorated part of my nursery. I gathered basically a bunch of shoebox lids and box lids and different fabrics that were pink and brown and decided to cover them for a wall decoration. And I did a total of 9 boxes to hang on the wall, and they're all done very similar, so I'm only going to show you a couple on how I did them. This first one, I used a polka dot fabric, which actually worked out pretty nifty because then you could line it up with the polka dots. And I really didn't use any rulers or measuring or anything. I just eyeballed most of it. Made sure that the fabric fit over the sides to give me a place to glue it. And wherever you glue on the back, nobody's going to see. The only part they're going to see is on the front, which is also nice. Okay, and here is the second box that I covered. And I'm just showing you that I used many different shapes and sizes just because I wanted it to be a very big collage on the wall. And I didn't, again, use any rulers or measuring devices. I just set the box down and cut the fabric around it after I made sure that all the edges folded over far enough to cover the box and to make sure that there was enough room to glue. And the trick to gluing these boxes is almost like wrapping a present, but you only have the lid. So I did 2 flat sides with hot glue, one on each side, and made sure that the fabric was pulled tight. And then on the 2 ends that I left, it's basically like wrapping a present where you fold it up over into the middle, which you can see in the video. Now I have another finished box that I had on the wall, and the fabric was actually a lot thinner than I had planned on, and you could see the logo through the fabric. So I ended up adding embellishments to a lot of my boxes, and this one I'm adding a flower, which ended up working out really nicely, and it covered up the logo. You couldn't really see through the fabric anymore, and it looked really cute. So I found a bunch of flowers actually at the dollar store, and I just pulled one of the heads off and cut off the little nub on the back of the flower to make it a little bit more flat, and I loaded it with hot glue. I mean, it took a lot of hot glue just to make sure that it wouldn't fall off, because it still had a rounded back to it because it was a flower. So I had to use lots of hot glue just to make sure it stayed. But it's still hanging and it's still on there, so I must have used enough. And now we're switching modes. I have been wanting to make a chandelier for a really long time, and I never had the opportunity until now, and I thought, why not? We'll try it. And I have a hole punch, a paper punch, that is 1.5 inches circle, and I bought a ton of scrapbook paper that was on sale, and cut up as much as I could possibly fit on one sheet. So here I am sewing together these paper punch outs that I had done, and the chandelier is going to be a light pink, a dark pink, and a white. And I did them in strings of 6. So I basically just use my pedal and add the circles as they go, and backfeed a little bit just to make sure that they stay on there, and cut them off and start with the next one. I have a whole pile there next to me if you can see it, and it ends up working out really nicely. I just had to use a very wide stitch because any smaller and the paper would probably just bend right in half. But as long as I had the wide stitch, it worked out perfectly, and I just kept doing 6 circles for each strand and tried to make as many as I possibly could. And here I am, finally have all of my strands of circles sewn together, and I actually used a lamp that had a bendable head on it to hang the chandelier in front of me so I could tie all of the strands all the way around. And it actually worked out pretty good as long as the head didn't move up and down, which it did slide once in a while and kind of mess me up, but for having to have my feet up, it worked out perfectly. And I did notice, though, because of the hanging basket that I used, it's just a regular hanging basket that you could find in a lawn and garden section. It has half circles or curves all the way around the top, which sometimes the circles would slide to either side. They wouldn't stay in the middle like I wanted them to. So I ended up hot gluing a dot in the middle of it and then tying the circles around that hot glue dot, and that hot glue dot will hold it there. And it actually worked out perfectly, and they all stay right where I put them, and it was a whole lot easier to fix the problem than I thought it would. The hardest part was getting the thread to tie around each piece of wire. Sometimes I had to redo it a couple of times, but it worked out. It really did.